Chapter 7, Busted. Crash! Went the door to the study hall room. Mr. Krupp stormed in like a crazy person. Georgia Hill had never seen him this upset before. You boys are in so much trouble! Mr. Krupp shouted. I'm putting you to permanent detention for the rest of the school year! Wait a second, cried George. You can't prove anything. Yeah, said Harold. We've been here all day. Mr. Krupp smiled devilishly and looked toward the door. Oh, Melvin, he called. Melvin nearly stepped into the room covered in mustard, eggshells, and shredded coconut. They did it, Melvin said, pointing at George and Harold. I saw him last night in the gym. Melvin! Cried George, horrified. You promised! I changed my mind, Melvin said, grinning smugly. Have fun in detention! Anyways, Chapter 8, The Adventure Convention Detention. After school, Mr. Krupp ushered George and Harold into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. I will never do anything that angers my handsome and charming principal, Mr. Krupp, ever again. From now on, growled Mr. Krupp, you boys will spend 2 hours a day after school copying this sentence over and over. I want every chalkboard in this room filled completely. On his way out the door, Mr. Krupp turned and said with an evil grin, and if either of you leaves this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both. Now, as you might have guessed, writing sentences was nothing new to George and Hale. The two boys waited until Mr. Krupp left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Hale had drilled in George's dad's workshop. George screwed the rods together while Harold inserted a piece of chalk into each hole. Then they each took a pole and began copying Mr. Krupp's sentence. Every time they wrote one sentence, the wooden poles made 12. After about 3.5 minutes, every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. We've got a lot of time on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said Harold. So the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all-new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Underpants, the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Chapter 9, Underpants, the Attack of the Talking Toilets by George B. and Harold Hitchens. Underpants, the Attack of the Talking Toilets, stories by George B. Pictures by Harold Hitchens. One day at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches. The principal was yelling, blah, blah, blah. And the gym teacher was beaming to everybody. My grandma can run faster than you guys. Then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with an evil ray. The ray made all the toilets come to life. It made them evil, too. The toilets were hungry. Blah, 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 blah. So they ate the gym teacher. Help! The toilets just grabbed somebody's car and ate out the gym teacher. Lord have mercy! Was it my car? This is like a job for God Underpants! Crash! Underpants ran to the storage room. Blah, 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 blah. He found a bunch of plungers. He put them in the toilets. Their mouths got stuck. Oh! Raise the Underpants! No, stop that evil UFO! Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up. Click! And out jumped the terrible Turbo Toilet 2000. I'll flush you! They had a big fight. Underpants was faster than the speed always been. Zip! More powerful than boxer shorts. Kick! Oh! And able to hit top villains without getting a wedgie. Underpants snuck up behind the Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Wedgie power! Oh, tree! Then he hung the TT-2000 on his stop sign and pulled back hard. Then let go. Doing! Kaboom! The spaceship blew up and all the toilets returned to normal. Even the gym teacher escaped. Oh, man. The end. Chapter 10. A Big Mistake. George and Harold sat together in the detention room, reading through their newest comic book and beaming proudly. We've got to go to the office and make copies of this, said George, so we can sell them on the playground tomorrow. We can't, said Harold. Don't you remember? Mr. Krupp said he'd suspend us if he caught us leaving this room. Then he won't let him catch us, said George. George and Harold sneaked out of the room quietly and crawled down the hall to the office. Uh-oh, said Harold. There's a bunch of teachers in there. We'll never get to use the copying machine. Said George. Are there any other copying machines in the school? How about the one that Melvin had in the gym? Asked Harold. Oh, yeah, said George. George and Harold crept over to the gym and found the Patsy 2000. I wonder if this machine still makes copies, said Harold. Melvin did say that he had made some adjustments to it. Oh, he probably just crammed a mouse in there to fool us, said George. It's the oldest trick of the book. I'm sure the machine still makes regular copies. George placed the cover of their new comic book face down on the glass screen and pressed start. All at once, the lights in the whole school dimmed and the Patsy 2000 began to shake and clunk around wildly. Giant volts of static electricity zapped out the bottom of the machine as a gray whirlwind rose from the top. Loose papers and other small objects in the room were sucked into the wind, and they spun above the machine like a raging cyclone. Oh, I think it's able to do this! Shouted George over the horrible noise. Finally, after a series of flashes and loud zaps, the noise, wind, and sparks stopped altogether. The only sound that could be heard was of something groaning and clawing inside the bloated, battered frame of the Patsy 2000. It sounds like something's alive inside there, said Harold. George snatched a comic book from the top of the machine. Let's get out of here, he cried. Just then, a small ding was heard, and a full-size, shiny white toilet emerged from the side of the Patsy 2000. Its teeth were sharp and jagged, and its angry eyeballs glowed with red, swelling veins. Blah, 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 cried the evil toilet. Almost immediately, another talking toilet emerged, followed by another and another and another. Blah, 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 blah. They cried, "Oh no! Melville was right! The phototopic transgoblet yet to venture atomic system body really does create living, breathing, three-dimensional copies of two-dimensional images!" Harold cried convolutedly. "I've got an idea," said George. "What? Actually, what?" cried George. Chapter 11. The Invention Convention Detention Suspension. George and Harold screamed and ran out the gym door, closing entirely behind them. "Aha!" yelled Mr. Krupp, who was just coming down the hall. "You boys left the detention room. You know what that means, don't you?" "It wasn't our fault," cried Harold. "Too bad!" Mr. Krupp shouted with delight. "You boys are officially suspended!" "Wait," cried George. "You've got to listen. Behind this door is an army of evil fishes. I don't have to listen to you boys ever again!" "Ha ha ha!" laughed Mr. Krupp. "Now get your stuff and get out of this school!" But, Harold stammered. "You don't understand." "Get out!" Mr. Krupp screamed. George and Harold groaned and walked to their lockers to collect their stuff. "God," said Harold. "In one day we've got a detention, a suspension, and we've created an army of evil talking toilets who want to take over the world." "That's a pretty bad day, even by our standards," said George. "Oh well," said Harold. "I just hope things don't get any worse." Chapter 12. Things get worse. Word spread quickly throughout the office that George and Harold had been suspended. The teachers rushed out to cheer and laugh at the two boys. "You're in big trouble now," chuckled Miss Anthrop. I can't wait to call your parents and tell them the news. Let's take their desks outside, shut them up," cried Miss Ribble. "Let's throw a party in the gym," shouted Mr. Meter. "No!" cried George. "Whatever you do, don't open the door to the gym!" "We can do whatever you like," snarled Mr. Meter as he dashed over to the gymnasium door. "Look, I'm opening the door." He quickly opened the gym door. "Now closing the door," he said. "Now open the door again, and An evil toilet had stuck its mouth through the door, snapped Mr. Meter up, and flushed him and swallowed him whole. The talking toilets then pushed their way through the open gymnasium doors and spilled out into the hallway. "Yum, yum, yum, yum," the toilets bellowed. "Yum, yum, yum, yum." The teachers couldn't believe their eyes. They screamed and ran for their lives. Only Mr. Krupp, Miss Ribble, and George and Harold remained frozen in fear. They watched paralyzed as the talking toilets came nearer and nearer. Finally, Miss Ribble pointed at the toilets and snapped her fingers. "Snap! Go away!" she cried. "Go away this minute!" But the toilets didn't listen. They moved closer and closer. Finally, Miss Ribble turned and ran. Mr. Krupp, however, just stood there in a daze. George and Harold looked up at him. "Uh-oh," said Harold. "Did she just snap her fingers?" "Yep," said George. "Now we're really in trouble." And George was right, for at that moment, Mr. Krupp had begun to change. A silly, heroic smile came over his face as he stood defiantly before his foes. "I'll put a stop to you, violent villains," he said fearlessly. "But first, I need some supplies." Mr. Krupp turned and dashed to his office. George and Harold ran after him. "Why did Miss Ribble have to snap her fingers?" cried Harold. "Why?" "Never mind that," cried George. "Mr. Krupp is turning to Captain Underpants. We gotta pour water over his head before it's too late."